And the final domino has fallen. The final big piece of the entire MLB offseason has finally been signed. You might notice the background's a little bit different. Just shifted around today because, well, Trevor Story signed with the Boston Red Sox. Yeah, absolutely huge move for the Red Sox. 6 years, $140 million, I believe with an opt-out after the 4th season, which I can't imagine Trevor Story, who will be about 34 years old, will do at the time. But this is a really, really big move. The AL East is just full of talent right now, and it's starting to feel like every team is really making a push for the top, except the Orioles. I mean, they're still going to be the last place team right now, but we have seen some huge moves go down the AL East. Trevor Story being the most recent one, the one I'm going to focus on the most today, signing a 6-year deal with the Boston Red Sox. Will he play short? Will he play second? We'll talk about that in today's video, as well as Jorge Soler signing a 3-year deal with the Miami Marlins, very similar to Carlos Correa's, though opt-outs after every single year until he's a free agent in the 3rd season. And then some minor moves. Brock Holt signed with the Braves. The Yankees signed Marwin Gonzalez. LOL. And I think that's pretty much it. Michael Conforto is basically the only remaining top 50 free agent still on the market. Where will he sign? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's with the Rangers, the White Sox, maybe even the Mets still have a chance. But before I do get going into all that, make sure you guys do drop a like on today's video. It's probably one of the last hot stove videos that are made for at least the foreseeable future. So drop a like if you've been enjoying all the content. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done so. Click that sub button, join the team. Get in the comment section down below initial thoughts and opinions on Trevor Story signing with the Boston Red Sox, as well as Jorge Soler going to the Miami Marlins. And make sure you drop me a follow on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc. Link is in the description. So Chaim Bloom, the man who didn't sign Mookie Betts, the man who has not been spending a whole lot of money, came from the Rays, didn't spend a lot there, came to the Red Sox, didn't spend a whole lot yet, just signed his biggest piece working at the Boston Red Sox. 6 years, $140 million to Trevor Story. Here's the big question. It's not whether or not Trevor Story is good, because I'm going to go through the numbers. I'm going to tell you why he is just very, very good. But the biggest question is really going to be, is he going to play shortstop or second base? Now, Jim Bowden of MLB Network is saying that he's going to play second. There's some people who think that he's going to play short. What is going to go on with where Trevor Story is going to play? Well, at the absolute worst, Trevor Story is insurance at shortstop for when Xander Bogaerts can eventually opt out of his contract after the 2022 season. So think of it almost as like Trey Turner for Corey Seager. And it's also very similar in that Trevor Story is definitely way better defensively at shortstop than Xander Bogaerts is. Same thing with Trey Turner and Corey Seager, although the difference wasn't as big there. There's definitely a huge difference defensively between Story and Bogaerts. While Story did struggle a little bit more at the shortstop position last year than we've seen in the past, there are some concerns with his arm. There is no doubt he is a better shortstop right now than Xander Bogaerts defensively. Without a doubt, he is going to have a better glove at that position. Bogaerts has brick hands. He has stone hands. He's awful at shortstop. He doesn't have a lot of range. He also doesn't have a particularly strong arm. Besides keeping Xander Bogaerts happy, if the Boston Red Sox truly want to get the most defensive value, it's probably putting Trevor Story at shortstop, especially because Rafael Devers is playing third base. So you do need a little bit of help defensively on the left side, but there's also a world where Trevor Story just plays second base because, again, there is concern with his arm strength. He will be very, very good at second base, and of course, his bat. That's the main thing you're getting Trevor Story for, is that plus bat he has at the plate. Don't let people tell you, oh, Trevor Story's not good, he only hits well in Coors. While the splits are definitely Coors favorable, you have to remember that when players come from Colorado, when players play for the Rockies, they are at an extreme disadvantage when they go on the road. The altitude messes with Colorado Rockies players massively. They get extremely tired. Studies have been done about this on players, teams. Research has been done. Teams who go to Colorado and then go on the road afterwards, they play significantly worse. The Dodgers have talked about this for years now. After they play a series in Colorado, their performance drops massively over the next week or so. And for a guy like Trevor Story, who's constantly going from regular altitude to high altitude to regular to low to high, this messes with them. And that is why a lot of times you see the Rockies teams, not just players, but the Rockies teams in general, struggle when they're on the road. It's not because these guys aren't good. You realize you still have to be a good player to hit well in Colorado. It's a lot easier to get base hits. It's a lot easier to get extra base hits, but it doesn't mean you're a bad player. Nolan Arenado was still very, very good last year, and he went from Coors, which is one of the more hitter-friendly parks, to Busch Stadium, which is definitely one of the more difficult parks to hit for power in all of Major League Baseball. We've seen it with guys in the past, too. Larry Walker had great numbers outside of Coors, especially when he left the Rockies. Matt Holliday was great outside of Coors. He started in Colorado, and he had a great career once he left there, so please, Don't use the lazy narrative that Trevor Story is going to stink because you looked at his home and road splits on Fangraphs or Baseball Reference and you saw that there was a difference. There is more that goes into it with Colorado Rockies players. Oh yeah, by the way, also DJ LeMahieu is another guy I want to throw onto the list. Guy who hit in Coors and has hit pretty well outside of it. All the Yankee fans who are probably saying Trevor Story's washed because he's going from Colorado to Boston, he's not going to hit as well. Just remember that one of the guys who's a main cog in your lineup also did something similar. You need to take a deeper look. And when you do take a deeper look, Trevor Story is actually not as bad on the road as you think. And again, you have to keep in mind all these numbers are with the extreme disadvantages to his health and physical well-being when he goes from being in Colorado, in Denver, Mile High City, going back to normal elevation. The body gets screwed up. So from an outside perspective looking in, Trevor Story, you see his home and road splits, and they are stark. There is a huge difference. But then you start to dive a little bit deeper into the numbers, and you see that Trevor Story had a 110 WRC plus in 2018, 98 in 2019, 109 in 2020, and 91 in 2021. Now, this in total basically puts him right around average, a little bit above league average on the road, WRC plus wise, since 2018. You throw away 16 and 17, that's 5 and 6 years ago now. He's a completely different player. The K rate is down by like 10% since then. So please don't count in 2016 and 17 numbers when you're talking about Trevor Story. He's not that same player. And again, he was basically a league average to above league average player on the road when he was moving from Coors high altitude to regular altitude, so extreme conditions, physically at a disadvantage, and he was still basically above league average the last 4 seasons. So when you even out his altitude, when you even out the fact that he's not going to have to go from Coors to LA to San Diego, he's going to be able to just stay in Boston, which, by the way, Red Sox Fenway Park, a hitter-friendly park by all means. I really think it's an extremely lazy conversation, and it's lazy to say that Trevor Story is just going to stink, because that's simply false. That's not true. His barrel percentage is still above league average, 64th percentile, still does hit the ball hard, average exit velo 74th percentile, max exit velo 78th percentile, hard hit percentage 62% again. So even if you're talking about ground balls, still hitting the ball decently hard. Even his ex-WOBA last year was 84th best in Major League Baseball. So to think that he's just all of a sudden gonna stink because he's not playing Coors is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So everybody, please stop saying you overpaid for Trevor Story. You're crazy. He can't hit outside of Coors. Take a look at players who have statistically played in Coors. It's always going to be a huge difference. Look at players splits in general, home and away. Typically, players do perform better at home. Am I making a ton of excuses for Trevor Story? Sure. But are they legitimate? Yes, they very much are, because the more you look at Trevor Story, the Red Sox got a really, really good player. He's going to hit probably 30 home runs a year in Boston for the next few years, driving a bunch of runs, steal about 20 bases a year, play good defense, whether it's at shortstop or second base. I really have no fear that Trevor Story is going to be very good in Boston. And for 6 years, $140 million comes out to about, what, $23 million a year? People saying overpay. My God. First off, Trevor Story, up until last year, people were making an argument that he could be one of the best, if not the best, shortstops in baseball. So one season has completely changed your opinion on giving a guy $23 million a year for the next 6 seasons when you were ready to have the argument that he might be one of the best shortstops in all of baseball after 2020? Ridiculous. Nonsense. What have you done for me lately? Recency bias. These are all things that are swaying people's narrative on what's going on with Trevor Story. And even then, he didn't have a bad season last year. He was still like a 3.5, 4-win player in what people would consider a down year. And when we've seen him at his best, he's like a 5 to 6 win player. So I don't understand the slander towards Trevor Story. Red Sox fans, you should be absolutely pumped. This is a huge addition to your lineup. Second base was a hole for you guys the last few years. While you had Christian Arroyo, who was a nice serviceable fill-in, Trevor Story is a massive upgrade and makes this lineup a whole lot dangerous. Top to bottom again, I've been doing this a lot recently, but let's just go through this Boston Red Sox lineup. Kike Hernandez, Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Trevor Story, Alex Verdugo, Bobby Dahlbeck. That's a pretty good 1 through 7, and there's definitely a drop-off with Christian Vasquez and Jackie Bradley Jr. There's still a world where Jarren Duran comes up and plays well. The platoon with Kevin Plawecki at catcher didn't do poorly last year. It was fine. This Red Sox team is looking really strong. They definitely need to add pitching. They definitely need some more arms. That's always going to be a Red Sox thing that I feel like I say for years and years now. They need more arms, but Nick Pivetta, Tanner Houck, going to fill in a little bit this year. They're going to be pretty good along with Nathan Eovaldi, who's criminally underrated. This Red Sox team is really good. This Red Sox team is going to be competing for a playoff spot. They were in the ALCS last year, and they got better. I don't know why people are sleeping on the Red Sox. This is a very, very good team, and I think they have pushed themselves forward in this AL East race. And then let's talk about Jorge Soler signing with the Marlins, 3-year, $36 million deal with an opt-out after the first and second season, just like the Carlos Correa deal that we saw. Good pickup for the Marlins. Jorge Soler is going to mash. Now, of course, it's going to be a little bit different out in Miami. Marlins Park is not a hitter's park, but we've also seen him hit 50 homers in a season out in Kansas City. Also, definitely a pitcher's park, not a hitter park at all. So I really really don't think Miami is going to be daunting to a guy like Jorge Soler, who absolutely mashes. And for a Marlins team, this is a solid pickup for them. Jorge Soler, when he's off, is basically a league average hitter who's going to hit about 30 homers and 30 doubles. When Jorge Soler's on, you could see that 2019 season where he could be putting up close to 50 homers, 30 doubles, and OPS in the 900s. That was in Kansas City, by the way. I know juice baseballs, but Jorge Soler is a really solid hitter. He's got major power. Can he play the field? Not really. And this is definitely a big addition for the Miami Marlins. He goes right into that middle of the lineup in what is a much improved outfield now. Jesus Sanchez, Avisail Garcia, and Jorge Soler out there. Soler could be the DH as well, and you might throw a little Brian De La Cruz out in center field if you don't want to put Avisail in a lineup with Jazz, Garrett Cooper. Like, I really like what the Marlins are doing here. This is a team that's going to be competing in the NL East. I don't think the Marlins are just a last place team. Dead fish, you're just going to roll over them. This team's going to be good. They're going to be competing for a playoff spot. The pitching's really good. The offense is much improved. I'm super wary of the Miami Marlins this year. I'm not going to treat them like I have in the past. This is a much better baseball team than we've seen the last few years. Pitching leading them, offense good enough. And then just to rub salt in the wounds, let's talk about the big moves the New York Yankees made. Whoa, they were supposed to get Olsen. They were supposed to get Correa. If not, they were supposed to get Story, Corey Seager. But who did they get today? Oh, they got Marwin Gonzalez on a minor league contract. Great pickup, New York Yankees. Really making some big moves. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of moves. Michael Conforto has to sign. We don't know where he's going to go. He'll be like the last free agent to really play out this offseason, but it's time. The rosters are set. The teams are ready. I can start to do predictions. I can start to do breakouts, X Factors. I can start to do all the really fun videos. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel so that when those videos go out, you get notified. You don't miss out. They go right on your YouTube page. You'll know when they're ready. You don't want to miss them. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Get in the comment section down below. Let me know what you're thinking about all these moves. I want to talk with you guys, have a little conversation. Make sure you follow me on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc, links in the description. That's where I'm wrapping up today's video, guys. You know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload. Click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all, I don't know, maybe later today or tomorrow for another video. Bye!